Okay. My name is Jessica Olivares, and this is for EDU 404. This is my educational leadership and advocacy interview, and I'm here with Mrs. Carreon. And Mrs. Carreon, thank you so much again for being here with me on such short notice. I do appreciate you taking the time out of your day to meet with me here. And can you please introduce yourself briefly and explain to me what you do?
Of course, my name's Tita Carrion. I am educator first. This is my 29th year. Currently, in the last 19 years, I've been the math director for our district. Um, Taught sixth grade for 10 years, math. And I always knew I wanted to do work with curriculum, instruction, you know, getting all the challenges coming in from our state. So this is where I ended up. I do have a master's in counseling and my administration, but I never got to use my counseling. But I use it every day in this job and at home.
Yes, of course. Thank you. And what led you to pursue this career path, and what has been your most rewarding experience so far?
What led me to pursue education? I guess you can say I always wanted to be an educator. I had great teachers that left, and still do, especially math teachers. Um, Mr. Height, Miss Moses, even my elementary teachers, they made a big impact on me. And that's what I wanted to do from the beginning. Once I started teaching and I got involved with helping out with writing assessments, writing curriculum, then I really knew that's what I wanted to do. Get more involved. But I did give 10 years to the classroom. And this is what I wanted to do, and I love doing it. I'm not only a resource to the kids, but I'm a resource to the teachers.
Wow, thank you so much. What are your current primary responsibilities and goals associated with your current position?
Okay, my
Current responsibilities
where
that you
where do
have?
I start? Let's see. So I am the math director for K-12. So I adhere to all grade levels from kinder all the way to calculus and high school math. My main responsibility is making sure I provide all the resources the teachers need. Obviously, our state provides us our TEKS, which is our I guess you could say our scope and sequence, but we as a district come together with committees and teachers and write down and work on like you said, the instructional design, how it's going to look like in our classrooms from years at a glance, what are we doing this week, next week, to the whole year picture. And we also focus on assessments, any assessments that go along with their curriculum to check for understanding. I put together all trainings from, again, all grade levels. When usually we get feedback from the campuses. That's one part. Then
Wow.
we have a little bit of, testing coming up. We do help with testing. We're assigned to campuses, but our main focus as curriculum directors is focusing on any updates, the latest coming. New as changes come, we need to be ready to change. We had a huge change a few years back where our maths scope and sequence, our TEKS, that's our Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills, changed dramatically. I mean, you're talking about moving from grade levels to grade levels, third to fourth, fifth to sixth, and so on. That I had to train every single teacher here at our district to be ready and to look at the new TEKS and and be aware of what was coming next. So that was a big issue. But that's pretty much basically what we
Wow.
do day in and day out. Mm.
How do you balance those various demands of your role?
Yeah. Uh, well, and I forgot to mention, we also do a lot of coaching with teachers. We spend a lot of time out on campuses, uh, either by teacher request, administrator request, to help, with a teacher that might be struggling or they just needs new teachers, we'll sit in there and have coaching sessions with them on instructional strategies, not necessarily just the math, but just on instructional strategies and the delivery of our instruction. That is a big one too, that we've spent a lot of time on. How do we balance it? Our boss is very good about, giving us that leeway and that time. We do try to meet with them at least once a week, but most of the time, we're out there at the campuses doing what we got to
Just
do.
very hands-on.
Yes, very hands-on,
And then
absolutely.
there's not even on the question,
Hmm.
but you got me interested on what happens to those students with the IDP plans. Do the teachers also get that training
Yes.
specifically for those kids that
Yes.
are on the.
Absolutely. We also have our special ed director, which she just started this past year. She's doing a lot of good things. And yes, making sure that all our teachers, there's now speaking of personal, I have an autistic son. He's the one currently getting a certificate at Palo Alto. So that is a major, major goal for him. And every time, he was in a certain classroom, that make sure the teachers were aware and they got trained. So yes, they are. They're trained in everything that they need in order to provide all the resources to all our kids, all students.
Wow.
Mhm.
My next question would be, how would you describe your advocacy style? I feel like you advocate for a lot of people the same way. But when you're supporting your educators, students, or the curriculum development, like, can you share an example of where your advocacy made a significant impact?
Um, Well, I'm just not gonna say me, like we as a district, we don't make decisions based on what I think is best. We usually get feedback. If we don't get feedback from our educators, then the buy-in is not there. So I think that's a big one that we do, that we're there for them. We're a resource for them. We're not there to, I got you. It's about working together and making them as successful as possible. And that's how we do it. What they're teaching in the classroom is something that's not only coming from the state, but it's something they put together, not one person putting it together. So I think that's a big thing that I do. And I know I can pretty much, I know almost everybody by name. I work with a lot
I
of
was about
teachers.
to ask you, like, how do you
So
start building those relationships with
yeah,
with
just at
new
trainings,
teachers? Okay.
and at campuses and introducing myself and trying to be the what is it, vigilant in all
Mm-hmm.
campuses. And like I said, my colleague that has less years than us is like, how do you know all those teachers? I said, well, after been doing it for so many years. But yeah, just making sure that um I know them, and they know, like we say, the kid cares to know that the teacher cares. Well, I make sure that I know all my teachers, and maybe don't know every detail, but I know who they are, I know what they teach, I know what grade level, and try to make them as comfortable as I can with me for when we sit and work together.
Wow. Thank you.
Mm.
Thank you. What specific challenges do you face when advocating for instructional or educational improvements, and how do you navigate them?
I guess the biggest challenge is probably I'm only one, you know, but we work together with the science social studies and the ELR and my boss to do as much as we can, as a team and individually. I guess that's the biggest challenge. And then of course, um, we can't keep everybody happy, even though we try, we work, but that is probably the biggest challenge. We would all love to have somebody like at each campus, to where I can bring them in and train them.
Yeah.
And it gets for me to get to 23 campuses is very difficult,
Right. And you can
So
offload some of that.
yes, to have my
Right.
team where I train and then they go off. I guess that's the biggest challenge, that I feel like sometimes I'm not doing enough because I'm only one and I can't get to every, and there's some years that maybe I don't see a campus, and then maybe it's a campus that really doesn't need, that extra resource,
Mm-hmm.
but they have my phone number, my personal, my email, and I usually respond.
For example, those campuses are already like on top of everything, and you really don't have to.
Yeah, but I
Okay.
mean, just this morning I had a Google Meet with one of the top schools, but they still, and they know I'm available. So, if they call me and I can't, let's do a quick Google Meet. Let's look at what you're looking at so that I can help you instead of, going all the way over there. And, we'll try to do it remotely so that I can help
That
them.
was going to be one of my next ones, is like,
Mhm.
what were the strategies that you found particularly effective? So obviously communicating through Google Meet is a big one.
De-
Showing up in person is
Definitely.
another.
And I try to do that all the time, trying to show up in person, but they need it right there and then, and we're on the phone. We'll just get on a Google Meet. Yes, definitely.
How do you use the data to drive decisions? Oh, well, then in this case, it comes from the higher ups, right? How do you use data to drive decisions and evaluate the success of the instructional strategies or the programs?
Okay. Well, we all do it, but I just happen to be in charge of what we call our professional learning communities,
Mm-hmm.
which are driven by data. We revamped it this past year and I got to train all the administrators on it. And what it is they meet on sometimes some campuses do it weekly, some campuses do it biweekly, some campuses do it monthly. It just depends on the need at their campus. And professional learning communities are to look at data, not for a department meeting or for disseminating information. It's strictly, the assessment that they gave, that particular week, the software reports that came in, and based on the data, they go and they adjust their instruction. So I got them all started. Well, we all got them started, getting them going, and then we're invited to them. We visit as they happen, and if they need to bring us in for anything, we'll come in too. But we are totally a data-driven district. That is what we're focused on. Yeah.
On that professional learning community,
Mhm.
do they also provide their feedback once they receive that data?
Yes.
Nice.
Yes. It's well, because there's no use in getting all this data if nothing follows up with that.
Right.
Yes, definitely. They'll come back, they look at lesson plans. Okay, what are we going to change? The feedback is immediate.
Mhm.
Turn around it both to the teacher as an administrator and then also to the student. Yes,
Wow.
definitely. And make changes and adjust as needed for
That's
instruction.
awesome. I love that real time changes that take effect immediately.
Yes, absolutely.
What learning experiences do you provide to educators or others within the district, and how do you measure their effectiveness? I feel like
We covered that, right?
Mhm.
And they're called common assessments,
Yes.
reports, data from our software. I do a lot of I like to do a lot of competitions, contests through our software programs.
Mhm.
And I just, for 2 months, it's the how many lessons can be, and then we go and we take our, I call it the price patrol, and that's our vision. They go and they video, and we award the top, say the top 10 kids in the district or the top 10 classrooms in the district. So I'm
Mhm.
very good ho on providing that good competition so that kids are encouraged to continue using our
I
software.
love that because it also keeps them engaged too.
Definitely. And they love when we go and, and give them their little price and they're
Go
on
see.
video. They love it. Mhm.
Um, this is going to tie into what I hope to do as an instructional designer.
Okay.
In what ways could someone with a passion for advocacy and actionable change, like myself, align with the goals of the district of your team?
Okay. And when you advocate, you're both for adults and students or like teachers and?
Well, I do want to advocate for adults, but my heart is still set with children. I don't
Yes,
know.
definitely.
I can't get rid of that gut feeling where that's where I'm supposed to be. So my future goals are to work with the school district and see how I can provide my professionalism with instructional design on how I can better help the teachers, the administration, or the students. And so,
But you sound like what we call our interventionist.
oh,
Currently, uh, because of our teacher shortage,
mhm.
they're in the classroom. They're actually teaching because we have a shortage, but they were each one at each campus was designed for that to work with that smaller group with the not necessarily special need kid, but the student who needs that extra help. Not just a whole group or small group in the classroom, but a smaller group, a more intensive. Um, and that's what they do. I mean, they sit with the teacher hand in hand. They come up with, okay, this is a plan for this student. So they're doing what you're talking, designing the plan for the student to show growth within the year. So and we still do it. Our teachers are still doing it. It's just within the classroom. So it's obviously a little more difficult when you have a class of 22 plus, but they're still doing it. But that's what we used to, we still one day hoping to get them back,
Yeah. That
but
seems like an important service to both
yes,
the
yes,
educator and the
yes. And of
students.
course, we do have our special ed. That's something you could probably do where they too, our special ed teachers sit hand in hand with the regular teacher. Okay, what is the plan for they come up with those IEPs together as the parent, the teacher, the special ed teacher, to make sure that kid is getting the best, intervention possible, whether, that it's on track and for the child to be successful. Hope I answered that. Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
and I was gonna go off script and tell you a little bit personal about myself, but I'll come back
Come back
around
on
to
that.
that one.
Okay.
Yes. What are the organization's current needs or the gaps where an advocate could contribute to their meaningful solutions?
Okay, repeat that again.
Yes, it says, what are the organization's current needs or the gaps where an advocate could contribute to meaningful solutions? Or, for example, how could I best support these needs in a tangible way?
I think I answered that. We're just alone
Being hands-on with
in what's the word I'm looking for?
the interventionalists.
The intervention is no, but like working hand in hand with the teacher and
Mm-hmm.
coming up with an ideal plan for the students that need that extra help.
Thank you. This is another question I was wanting to ask you. How do you ensure that the voices, such as the teachers or the students or the parents, are heard and integrated into the decision-making process?
Okay, well, first of all, we have what we call each campus has a school decision-making committee. And on those committees, you have teachers, you have administrators, and you have parents. And those committees can't happen without your parent and community members being there for you. Each campus has their own, and then we have one district-wide one. And we meet about 5 or 6 times a year. And in those meetings, we have, like I said, parent representation, community representation, teacher representation, and admin presentation. Representation, anything that is happening within our district goes through those committees before it goes on to the board or anything for school. So they're the ones that here, even our plans, we're planning to bring this for my third grade students or teachers, everything curriculum wise, any department, any program wise, has to go through our district wide. And then each campus has their own.
If you don't mind me asking, how is like their turnout whenever you have those meetings?
Oh, they're good. Really good.
Okay.
Some days, we'll be missing, some teacher or some shit for something that's going on. But most of the time, as long as we have, and our biggest is our community and our parent, that they know what's happening in our district. But we'll always have administration. Obviously, we hold it here, and then each of us is belongs to a campus one. Like I have 3 campuses, so we're there, and those won't start unless there's a parent and a community member involved. Because it's important that they know what's going on at the parents their kids campuses, and then what ideas are coming up. And we're talking from curriculum all the way to budget and what they do, incentives. It's everything, not just curriculum, everything that the district is doing for our students, campuses, and so forth. It includes everything.
Wow, I didn't know
I
that the
definitely
voices were so powerful.
I definitely if you have any time you have to visit one of those district wide,
Even though I'm not a parent?
No, but they have also community members, but yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Definitely.
Okay, last question. What advice would you give to someone like me who wants to contribute to the district's innovative initiatives through advocacy and actionable change? Is there a specific project or area that you maybe feel my ideas and skills would be most valuable?
I'm only thinking like myself, but I should be thinking overall. There's so many things that you could do, just with our special education, and just with we're still in that post COVID, still trying to get back on track where we were before, um, that goes a long way to finding out what our needs are with our kids, our students. The students are already behind to begin with before that. There's been a lot of and it's been a struggle, but we're getting there. We're getting back to where we were before. And when I think about math, it was a very the words from our commissioner of education was the math was going to be detrimental the fall behind, because yeah, the teachers did well when kids were at home. They put on their best videos and instruction, and as much as they could, but it's not the same. face to face and having the kids there, So we did have some loss, but we've already had some gain and we're heading that way. So someone like you definitely, we want you to finish so you can come be a teacher and start exploring.
Well, that's the thing with
I think you definitely have to be, I don't know what you're thinking, but you definitely want to go and come and start as either an aide or being a teacher because you have to start somewhere, and eventually, like I said, and I probably would have left my classroom earlier, but I loved it. I loved being in the classroom.
I know I'm gonna love it if I tiptoe in it, ma'am. Ya no voy a salir, and I feel.
And remember, I did my counseling, and then I only interviewed one time for counseling because I was like, no, I still want to be in the classroom. And then the opportunity came for this job. I've been in it 19 years. And I just could not, I guess could not turn it down. They said, come on. But I was like, you know what? When will I have that chance again? So definitely, finish so you can come to school and become a teacher, an aide, whatever it is that is on your mind. So that way you can start implementing some of these great ideas, advocating for kids. So I see you going that route of, special education or some kind of specialist to where, whether it's, I don't know, speech or, there's just so many nowadays.
I feel more relaxed now. I'm not so nervous.
Good.
But thank you. I want to thank you again for taking the time out of your day to help me with my assignment.
And now you have my email, and if anything, you need any help, I want to. So many people are leaving our and you said it, are leaving our what is it, the education, looking for somewhere else, and when we used to have like.
It was a wait fest.
Waiting people to come in.
Yes,
now
I
it's
remember.
like we lose a teacher and they're like, oh my God, well, we're going to find one. So, yes. Okay.